You step onto a trail at 7 a.m., and the whole forest reacts like an alarm just went off. A blackbird blasts out of a bush. A rabbit disappears into grass that looked empty a second ago. Somewhere off to your left, a deer tears through brush with the kind of panic usually reserved for a fire. And there you are, tightening a backpack strap, holding a water bottle, wondering why everything in nature treats you like a walking emergency. Because that is exactly what you are. Animals are scared of humans for a reason so old, so deep, and so thoroughly earned that it reaches down into evolution itself. This is not mainly about cities. It is not mainly about guns. It is not mainly about one bad encounter in one unlucky place. For a huge number of animals, fear of humans is the right answer to one of the oldest questions in life. Will that thing kill me? And when the thing is a human being, the answer across generation after generation has been yes. That is where this starts. To understand why animals fear us, you have to stop picturing humans the way humans picture ourselves. We think in biographies: a hiker, a family at a park, a biologist with a notebook, a tourist with a camera. Animals do not see any of that. They see an upright shape with forward-facing eyes, strange movement, strange noise, an overwhelming smell, and a very long history of danger attached to it. That last part matters most. In ecology, there is a concept called the landscape of fear. Animals do not wait for a predator to attack before reacting to it. They live inside a map of danger. They feed according to it. They rest according to it. They travel according to it. Every patch of ground carries a risk level. Every sound means something. Every open space becomes a calculation. A gazelle at a waterhole is not just drinking. It is checking the wind. It is scanning the edges. It is reading movement. It is making a split-second judgment about whether the next 5 seconds contains safety or catastrophe. Humans entered that calculation a very long time ago. Our species, and the human species before us, spent hundreds of thousands of years hunting animals, chasing animals, trapping animals, ambushing animals, stealing carcasses, and competing with other predators for the same meat. We were never the strongest creatures in the landscape. We did not need to be. What made us terrifying was something worse from an animal's point of view. We were relentless. Early humans mastered endurance. In some environments, they practiced persistence hunting. They did not explode into a sprint like a cheetah. They did not rely on one perfect ambush like a crocodile. They kept coming. They tracked. They followed. They forced prey to run again and again until the animal overheated, exhausted itself, and collapsed. Imagine being an antelope and spotting a human far away on the horizon, not charging, not retreating, just continuing. Hours later, it is still there. That is horror. Most predators operate in bursts. A lion launches. A wolf pack closes in. A snake strikes. If the prey escapes, the event ends. Humans changed the terms. We turned pursuit into a problem with no clean endpoint. We carried weapons. We coordinated in groups. We communicated. We remembered routes. We came back the next day. This is where evolution takes over. Animals that failed to treat humans as a severe threat left fewer descendants. Animals that spooked sooner survived longer. Animals that ran first stayed alive long enough to reproduce. Repeat that over immense stretches of time, and fear stops being a personal lesson. It becomes part of the operating system. That is why the reaction can look so excessive to us. A person takes one step and a hillside empties out. Birds shoot upward. Lizards vanish under stone. Mammals freeze then bolt. It feels theatrical. It feels almost insulting. From the animal side, overreacting to humans is one of the smartest bets in nature. And that fear does not stop with prey. One of the strangest things about humans is that even predators often avoid us. Big cats avoid us. Wolves avoid us. Bears, when they have room to leave, usually leave. Animals that can absolutely destroy you still spend a lot of energy trying not to meet you at all. That tells you something important. Humans are not simply another predator in the lineup. We break the category. A deer knows what a wolf is. A rabbit knows what a hawk is. A seal knows what an orca is. Those threats fit inside evolutionary history. They have patterns. They hunt at certain times, from certain places, in certain ways. Prey species build defenses around those patterns. They learn where danger usually comes from and when it usually arrives. Humans refuse to stay inside a pattern. We hunt in daylight. We hunt in darkness. We hunt alone and in groups. We hunt from trees, we hunt from boats, we hunt from hides, we hunt from roads, we hunt from the sky. We use snares, nets, dogs, fire, spears, bows, traps, rifles, engines, lights, and machines so unnatural to an animal mind that they register like a tear in the world. A wolf cannot enter your habitat with a spotlight and an engine. A leopard cannot empty the sea with industrial gear. A tiger cannot fence a migration route, cut a road through it, and come back later with drones. Humans can. Animals have been living with the consequences ever since. That unpredictability sits at the center of fear. In nature, a threat becomes manageable when it becomes legible. If a predator always attacks from reeds near water, prey can avoid reeds near water. If a raptor prefers open ground at midday, smaller animals can change their timing and stay close to cover. Humans make legibility collapse. We are loud until we are silent. We are slow until we are suddenly fast. We ignore one animal and kill another. We feed wildlife in one place and poison it in another. We protect a forest for years and tear through it in one season. From an animal's perspective, the safest assumption is maximum caution. Then there is the issue of scale. Most predators are local forces. They shape a valley, a shoreline, a hunting range. Humans reshape continents. We do not merely hunt animals. We remove habitat. We reroute rivers. We drain wetlands. We cut roads through migration paths. We light up the night. We fill the air with machine noise. We spread into almost every ecosystem on Earth. Even when we are not actively hunting, we change the background conditions under which animal life has to function. That means animals do not only fear our teeth, so to speak. They fear our presence. This has been measured directly. Across the world, wildlife changes behavior when humans are around. Mammals become more nocturnal. Birds abandon feeding sites faster. Large herbivores spend less time in open ground. Carnivores shift their routes to avoid roads, trails, villages, and farms. Entire animal communities reorganize their schedule around us. A major global analysis found the same pattern across 6 continents. Human disturbance pushed mammals toward the night. Species that should have been grazing, hunting, migrating, and socializing in daylight shifted their activity into darker hours simply because people were nearby. They were not always being chased. They did not need a gunshot to understand the situation. Our presence alone changed their clock. Think about what that means. A forest is not simply full of creatures living their natural lives while you walk through it. In many places, the moment human activity becomes common, daily routines get pushed into the margins. Feeding happens later. Movement happens after dark. Rest happens in worse locations. Mothers choose more hidden shelter. Young animals grow up in a world calibrated around staying away from one upright primate. Fear burns energy. It steals time. It changes where a body can safely exist. And once fear becomes chronic, it reshapes ecosystems. This is one of the most powerful ideas in ecology. Predators change more than population numbers. They change behavior, and behavior changes landscapes. If deer avoid certain areas because wolves might be there, those plants get a break. If smaller mammals stop foraging in exposed spaces because foxes patrol them, seeds survive differently. If fish avoid shallows where birds hunt, the whole rhythm of feeding and shelter shifts. Now add humans. When animals avoid valleys, beaches, waterholes, riverbanks, trails, and daylight itself because people use those spaces, the environment changes around that fear. Some plants recover while others get hammered. Some places become crowded refuges while others stand empty. Predators lose access to prey at one time of day and gain it at another. Scavengers gather where humans leave waste and disappear where human pressure stays heavy. Our species does not simply occupy ecosystems. We press on the nervous system of everything around us. And then there is smell. To us, this sounds almost ridiculous. We do not think of ourselves as pungent animals. We shower. We use soap. We wear deodorant. We wash our clothes. We cover ourselves in manufactured scents and assume we have become neutral. To many animals, the opposite is true. Human scent is loud. Even plain body odor is distinctive. Add sunscreen, detergent, fuel residue, plastic, food smells, smoke, rubber, and all the chemical traces of modern life. And the signal gets even stronger. Wildlife often reads scent as an early warning of danger. Long before an animal sees you clearly, it can detect that something profoundly unusual has entered the area. Researchers have tested this directly by placing human scent in wild spaces and measuring how animals respond. The result is blunt. Activity drops, some species hesitate, others detour, some avoid the area outright. In several studies, human odor worked as a threat cue strong enough to alter movement even when no person was physically present. This is one reason you can arrive somewhere and feel like nothing is there, even though a dozen animals already know you showed up. They smelled you, they adjusted, they left. Sit with that for a second. People often imagine they are observing nature directly. In reality, they are often observing nature after nature has reacted to them. You walk into a meadow and think it is calm. The meadow thinks it has been interrupted. So why are some animals barely scared of us at all? Because fear is not fixed, it is calibrated. You can see this in cities everywhere. Pigeons barely move, urban foxes slip through neighborhoods like they pay rent. Raccoons inspect trash cans with the confidence of specialists. Some gulls steal food from your hand with the speed of criminals who know enforcement is weak. These animals are not confused. They are habituated. Habituation happens when an animal experiences a repeated stimulus without the expected cost. If humans keep appearing and do not attack, do not chase, do not trap, and do not create immediate harm, the fear response gets dialed down. Running every time becomes expensive and pointless. Energy matters. Attention matters. Animals that waste both on empty alarms lose out. So the threat ranking changes. That is why a pigeon in a city square behaves differently from a pigeon in a place where people still hunt birds. It is why deer in a protected park can tolerate close human presence, while deer in heavily hunted regions vanish at the faintest sound. It is why some monkeys become bold thieves around tourists, while other primates treat human contact with hard suspicion. The fear is real, and it responds to evidence. A crow is a perfect example because crows do not merely generalize, they identify. Research has shown that crows can remember human faces and hold grudges with astonishing commitment. Treat them as a threat and they mark you as a threat. They call to other crows. They spread the information. Young birds learn the lesson. That is not vague animal fear. That is targeted social memory. Plenty of other species do simpler versions of the same thing. They distinguish safe people from dangerous people. They distinguish a footpath from a hunting route. They distinguish a reserve from a place where gunfire is part of the background. Animals are constantly updating their map. That gives us one of the clearest pieces of evidence in this whole story. When animals have no history of harm from humans, fear disappears. This is why island species have so often been devastated by people. Before human arrival, many isolated animals had never faced a predator remotely like us. Birds nested on the ground. Reptiles basked in the open. Mammals failed to flee. The famous cases are famous for a reason. The dodo did not act foolishly. It acted according to a world in which upright apes with tools were not part of the danger structure. Then humans arrived and the old rules collapsed almost instantly. The same pattern has shown up again and again. On islands, in isolated reserves, and in regions with little direct contact, animals often let people approach far too closely. Historical accounts from exploration are full of this. Sailors walked up to birds and grabbed them by hand. Researchers in places with long-term protection report fish that swim toward divers instead of away. Penguins in Antarctica inspect boots and equipment as if a person were just another odd feature of the ice. Those animals are not making a mistake. They are revealing the original condition. Fear of humans is built by selection and reinforced by experience. Remove the danger and the response weakens. That alone answers a huge part of the question. Animals are scared of humans because fear of humans is taught by history, reinforced by experience, and rewarded by survival. There is another piece, and it is less flattering. We kill things in ways that do not fit normal predator logic. A lion kills because it is hungry, defending territory, or removing a rival. A human kills for food, yes, but also for trade, status, sport, precaution, convenience, aesthetics, retaliation, and management. We kill animals that threaten crops. We kill animals that threaten livestock. We kill animals because they damage property. We kill them because they look valuable. We kill them because they are invasive. We kill them because they are native and in the way. That broadens the threat far beyond ordinary predation. For an animal, a predator that sometimes eats you is dangerous. A species that kills across categories is catastrophic. This is why large carnivores fear us too. Humans did not just hunt deer. We hunted wolves and lions. We hunted bears and big cats. We hunted seals and whales. We hunted eagles, crocodiles, and anything else that competed with us, threatened us, or stood where we wanted to stand. Apex predators learned the same lesson prey did. Avoid humans. The ones that failed often ended up trapped, poisoned, skinned, mounted, or erased from entire regions. Of course, sometimes animals attack people. That looks like a contradiction until you look closely at when those attacks happen. Most of the time, they come from surprise, cornering, offspring defense, food conditioning, or severe stress. The animal does not prefer contact. It has run out of room, run out of options, or learned a dangerous association with human food. A bear on a trail usually wants distance. A moose usually wants distance. A snake usually wants distance. Close that distance too fast, block escape, put young nearby, or trigger panic. And the calculation changes. Fear flips into defense. That does not weaken the larger pattern. It confirms it. The attack happens because the animal experiences you as an immediate threat that cannot be escaped. There are exceptions, and they stand out because the baseline is avoidance. One of the few large predators that will seriously consider humans as prey is the polar bear. In the Arctic, the fear structure is different. There has been less long-term exposure to dense armed human populations, fewer escape options, and an ecology where large meals matter enormously. In that setting, a human enters the menu more easily. The exception proves the rule by showing what happens when human fear is not deeply installed. Now zoom all the way out. Human beings spread across nearly every landmass on Earth, and wherever we went, the pattern repeated. Large animals disappeared first. The biggest birds vanished. Slow breeders collapsed. Island species were hit hard. Mammals that had never met us learned too late. Marine life suffered from hunting and nets. Land animals lost habitat and then faced roads, fences, farms, noise, and chemical contamination on top of direct killing. To an animal lineage, humans are not one bad day. We are an era. That is why the fear can be so intense even in places where individual people mean no harm. A hiker might be harmless. A photographer might be harmless. A child feeding ducks at a pond might be harmless. Evolution does not work by reading intent. It works by tracking consequences. And the consequences of underestimating humans have been severe for a very long time. This also explains a strange feeling many people get when they enter wilderness. They say it feels empty, quiet, peaceful, untouched. Often that feeling is false. Animals are there, they are simply hidden, displaced, delayed, or already gone from the visible space because we entered it. We mistake absence for serenity. A field with no visible birds can look tranquil. A stream bank with no mammals can look undisturbed. A forest where nothing moves can feel pristine. Sometimes what you are seeing is a place holding its breath. That matters for conservation because fear itself is a burden. An animal that spends more time scanning and less time feeding is paying a cost. An animal that shifts all activity to nighttime because of humans is paying a cost. A mother forced into poorer habitat because people dominate the best habitat is paying a cost. Even when we are not directly killing, we can reduce survival by making life more stressful, more hidden, and more energetically expensive. In some species, that pressure shows up in body condition. In others, it appears in lower reproductive success. Sometimes it shrinks feeding windows. Sometimes it weakens access to water and shelter. A frightened landscape is not just psychologically different, it is biologically poorer. There is one genuinely hopeful part of this story. Animals can also learn that humans are safe. Where hunting stops, habitat stabilizes, people behave consistently, reserves are enforced, food is not used to manipulate wildlife, and contact stays predictable, many species relax. They return to daytime activity. They use open areas again. They allow closer approach. They spend less time in panic mode. That is not sentiment. It is a measurable shift in behavior. Mountain gorillas that once avoided people can tolerate observers under careful protection. Animals in no hunting zones often show reduced flight distance. Marine life in protected waters can become startlingly calm around divers. Birds in places with long-term safety can nest more openly and waste less energy on false alarms. In other words, animals are not locked forever into terror. They are responding to data. If every generation receives the same message that humans mean danger, the fear deepens. If the message changes and stays changed, behavior changes with it. The same intelligence that taught animals to fear us allows them to update when we stop acting like a mortal threat. That should tell us something simple and sobering. Animals are not irrationally terrified of humans. They are accurately reading us. For most of our history, and across much of the planet even now, the smartest move an animal can make when it detects a human is to leave immediately. That blackbird exploding out of the bush is not overreacting. The rabbit that vanished before you got close is not silly. The deer sprinting into the trees is not being dramatic. They are responding to one of the most successful and destructive predators that has ever existed. A species that can track for hours. A species that kills at a distance. A species that changes habitats faster than evolution can keep up with. A species that shows up everywhere and never behaves the same way twice. And then there is the final twist. We are also one of the only species that understands this. A wolf does not redesign its relationship to deer. A tiger does not create wildlife corridors. An eagle does not establish a protected area, ban hunting, restore a wetland, or decide that the next generation of animals deserves a landscape with less fear in it. Humans can. That does not erase the fear we earned, but it puts responsibility exactly where it belongs. If animals run from us, they are responding to a pattern we built. If some populations become calm again, that will happen because we built a different pattern. So the next time you step onto a trail and the forest seems to flinch, do not take it personally. Take it historically. That blackbird, that rabbit, that deer, all of them are answering the same ancient question in the same efficient way. You step onto a trail at 7 a.m. and the whole forest knows exactly what you are.